Now don't you dare call it a Hyundai. On this edition of Test Drive, the Genesis G90. The Genesis G90 is an all-new model fashioned after the top-range European luxury sedans. It has a stately presence, a wheelbase that stretches a full 3,160mm, and of course all the mod cons expected of a high-end ride, but for less money. Now, if you like opulence, you're going to love this G90. It's got everything known to man and then some. For example, a 22-way power driver's seat with a 4-way lumbar support, leather-lined interior. You've also got all the safety items you've come to expect from a car at this end of the price ladder. And finally, a 12.3-inch high-definition screen that looks after the infotainment system. It really does come together very nicely. There are two versions of the G90. The test car featured a 3.3-litre turbocharged V6 that twists out 365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque at 1,300 RPM. The early entry of the peak torque means turbo lag off the line is limited to the first few metres. After that it builds speed quickly and oh so smoothly, running to 100k in 6.1 seconds. The second choice is a 5-litre V8 with 420 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. It is marginally faster and certainly more refined when worked hard, but it's also thirstier. Both engines work with a slick 8-speed manumatic transmission that comes complete with paddle shifters. Now this G90 arrives with 4 different driving modes, each of which alters the steering, the suspension, the throttle and the transmission, and when so equipped, the all-wheel drive system. Now what this thing does in sport mode, it sends 90% of the power to the rear wheels, which brings a more spirited drive. Now it manages to do that without giving up the ability to be more than a fair weather friend. The one thing I did not expect the G90 was to hold its own when pushed towards the ragged edge, but that it did. The credit goes to the multi-link suspension and Sachs ZF adaptive dampers. They control rebound and compression damping so well there is very little in the way of unwanted body roll. Throw in the 245/45 front and 275/40R19 rear tyres, a sorted electric power steering setup, and the ability the all-wheel drive system imparts, and the G90 is agile to the point of feeling sporty when it's pushed. The flip side is a waft-on-air ride that's very quiet and unhurried when cruising down the highway. Now, all of the luxury that the front seat riders are treated to, well, you'll find very much the same in the back, up to and including over 3 feet of legroom, lots of hip room and all the rest of it. Now you don't want to be the middle seat rider because there's nowhere to put your feet. Besides, when it's down, the outboard riders have control of their own destiny. It really does come together very nicely. Now, I nearly forgot, you also get a 15.7 cubic foot trunk to boot. One of the G90's highlights is the advanced Genesis Smart Sense system. It brings together auto-emergency braking with pedestrian detection, smart cruise control with stop-start functions, blind spot detection and lane keep assist. The latter proved to be very annoying, so it got switched off in a hurry. Now this Genesis G90 represents an awful lot of value for your hard-earned dollar. It's got all the opulence of any of its European rivals. It's got pace through a corner and grace on the highway. So where do you buy yours? Only at Genesis.com. Now that is a very different retail strategy and one that some would argue is risky.